Hello, everybody, live from RootsTech again today, day 2. It's been so fun to interact and meet so many people who are part of our study group or are part of our DNA skills workshop. It has been just so fun to see everybody. And for those of you who are virtual, I would love to see you right now. Love to see your comments, love to see what you've learned as you've been watching RootsTech online. If you've taken away any nuggets, things that you've learned, your favorite classes, or what you're looking forward to yet today or tomorrow in the online classes. We just love to hear your experience, and you can share. That way other people maybe want to go back and review videos that they didn't see. So let's share all the things that we've learned as we're answering questions today. So I do have a few questions that we got from you from our different social media channels. So we'll just jump in. This question is, once you make a network and are searching for a common surname, what is an effective way to organize it so you can analyze it? So I think organization is always one of the biggest problems that people have. It's like the constant holy grail. Like, how do I organize myself? What I usually do, I've actually started using the Goldie May software, because in Goldie May, you can, it tracks your research log for you. But I like to take a lot of screenshots and then I keep them in a research log. So you can organize your research log just on Word on your computer. I like to use a program called GoodNotes, and I can use it on my computer and I can use it on my iPad. So no matter where I'm at, I can kind of access it. But what I do is if I'm working with a DNA match, for example, I'll take a screenshot of that profile page that shows, how much DNA they're sharing with me and their family tree. And I'll put that into my research log. And then in GoodNotes, I have my little Apple Pencil and I can annotate it and write my notes on it. I can highlight things and circle things and things like that. But when I'm getting to the point of the doing genealogy, which I think is what this question is really getting to, is that for each mystery match that's in the network that I'm focused on, I am adding them to my tree online. So like in Ancestry, for example, if I find a DNA match that I know is belonging to this network that I want to create, what I'm doing is I'm going into Ancestry and creating what we call like a floating tree. So we teach this in the DNA Skills Workshop extensively, but essentially what you do is you would go into any of your real ancestors and you would click on add a family member, and then you would add the name of your DNA match, and then you would disconnect that person from the family that you just created. So if you said this DNA match was your ancestor's daughter, then you would just disconnect that relationship. And that frees your DNA match to be this kind of floating entity in your tree. And then you can build out their tree within your tree. So I do that with every DNA match that I'm researching. So I keep all of their tree information in my main tree that's connected to my account. And then I can connect that DNA match to themselves in my tree, so that at any point later on when I'm in Ancestry, I can just click and that will show me exactly who they are and exactly how much of their tree that I've built. And so, ideally at some point we'll decide, I can see how these two matches are connected to each other, and then you're going to connect them within your tree. So that's the best way I found to stay organized. I know a lot of people create a million different family trees, one for every DNA match, and that just gets really overwhelming really fast. And there's no way to link your DNA match to this separate tree. You can only link matches to your tree, the one that's connected to your account. So I found that is the best and easiest way to make those kinds of connections, is to organize it within your online Ancestry tree. Now, if your matches are somewhere else at a different testing company, Family Tree DNA or MyHeritage, I'm still pulling them into my Ancestry tree. But what I'm doing is I'll say the match's name is Diahan, and then I'll put a little MH. So I remember this match is from MyHeritage, or I'll put FT if they're from Family Tree DNA. So in their name, I'm reminding myself where that match has come from. Okay, so give that a try. It's a lot. It's always going to be a lot of data to keep track of. The important point is you just find and keep your own system, and so that will keep you on track. No matter what your system is, just stay consistent. Essentially, is my best advice. So let me see. I'm just going to flip over here to the comments. It looks like, oh, Deborah, let's take a look at your question. She says, in Ancestry DNA, you are able to confirm or change the suggested relationship for each of your DNA matches. Can you do that in MyHeritage as well? And the answer is no. Right now, MyHeritage is not letting you interact with their projected relationships, but what I would definitely do is make a note. So in MyHeritage, you can make notes about your DNA matches, and I would, say this is the confirmed relationship that I know I have with this person. So you would have it right there in your notes. So not quite as good as being able to make that actual change, but still pretty decent. Let's see. Oh, Stephen is sharing a wonderful breakthrough with a Polish map. So that's exciting. So glad that you were able to find that. April, she thinks she found her third great grandparents doing our study group. So that's pretty exciting. Good job, April. And then your question is, how do I know who's the mom and who's the dad, since I would need to find my fourth great grandparents to split the network? So again, now you're at that terrible border of autosomal DNA, and it's just really hard. You can try it. You can try to use the methods you've learned in study group to split the network. You'd have to use bottoms up. But again, you're going to be dealing with matches that are very distant, which means the shared matches tool just isn't as effective. And so that makes it harder. You might... I was trying to think if there's a role for Y-DNA in your research, and there may be, but it would depend on, direct paternal lines and things like that. But it may be a problem that you just need to set down for a while. I do think that our technology will get to the point where we can effectively research our 4 times grades, but just unfortunately not quite there. And John's asking, are your DNA workbooks available for purchase? I'm not at RootsTech in person. So if you go to yourdnaguide.com/RootsTech, all of our online specials are there for all of you who are not at RootsTech. We do have some online specials as well. So you can go to yourdnaguide.com/RootsTech, and all of that information is there. Okay, let's go back to our questions. Here's one about Y-DNA. Is it unusual for me to have one Y-DNA match at 100 out of 111 markers, and we have the same surname? How long ago do you estimate we had a shared ancestor? So understanding that the anatomy of your Y-DNA match page actually gives you a lot of insight into your own direct male line heritage. So some people have a lot of Y-DNA matches. And for those people, you know that your Y-DNA profile in general is relatively common among the populations that have been tested. Whereas if you don't have very many matches, it means that overall, you're just not as popular or common, right? And so it can also be an indication of how many male descendants your family has. So there are a lot of little nuances you can learn just by understanding that you don't have very many matches. But I would also encourage you to look at lower levels of testing. So not everyone is tested at the 111 marker level. So if you're at Family Tree DNA and you're looking at your match page, across the top are the different levels of testing. So go click on, say, 37 markers and see if you have matches at that level. The trick is, when you're looking at that 37 marker level, you want to focus on the column that tells you how many markers that person has tested. So at the 37 marker level, you only want to look at people who've tested at 37 markers, because anybody who's tested at a higher level, you want to evaluate them at that higher level. But there are still lots of people who've only tested at the 37 marker level. So you may find more matches down there at that level. But for any match that shows up on your match page, if you want to estimate how far back you're related, you need to look at that Y-DNA match page, and the last icon on the right looks like a little calendar. And if you click that, it's going to give you an estimate of when you can expect to find your common ancestor. Okay, so give that a try and see what you find. I'll give you a little spoiler alert. With 11 differences, you're going to be connected very, 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 very long time ago. Okay. All right. Let's ask, how do you distinguish between your ancestors' parents and their siblings? I know I'm family based on DNA, but there's a record gap of one or more generations. So this question, I'm pretty sure I know what you're asking. So hopefully I answer your question in my answer. But essentially what you're trying to decide is what I call your generation of connection, right? So if you're looking at a set of DNA matches and you can see that you all connect together, right? Your family, you know you connect, and you're trying to figure out exactly how, then one of the best tools to use is the What Are the Odds tool, that tool hosted over there at DNA Painter. It allows you to draw the family tree of these related individuals, and then it allows you to ask, how are we connected? When are we connected? At what point are we connected? And that's a really powerful way to just kind of ask a bunch of questions. Could I be connected here? Or what about over here? Or what if I was a descendant of this person? And so What Are the Odds is a really valuable way to find out how you are connected to your matches. We also have a course. If you don't know how to use What Are the Odds, we do have a course to teach you how to use that tool as well. So it's super powerful. When you've arrived at that point, it sounds like where you're at, where you have a group of matches that you know are related to you, but you're unsure of exactly when you connect. That's when we turn to Watto. All right, let's see. Oh, June, yes, I'm with you. The Mito haplogroup update at Family Tree DNA, super exciting. And they're growing that tree and they're creating all sorts of tools for us to interact with mitochondrial DNA, which we just really haven't done before. So I'm excited too. I like that. I'm glad that you saw that. So Kevin's asking, my brother took a 111 marker test. He and I are 18 months apart. Do I need to take a Y-DNA test or can I use his? So Kevin, my general rule for Y-DNA is that you only need to test someone who's a third cousin or more distant from you. There's no reason to test you if your brother has been tested. You'll be the same. So with autosomal DNA, we test everybody because everybody has a different autosomal DNA record. But your Y-DNA record should be the same as your brother. So I really don't think you need to test anybody closer than a third cousin, maybe a second cousin. But all that's going to do is verify your connection back to that common ancestor, right? So that's a good thing to keep in mind. All right, our last question is how to find fourth great-grandparents with DNA. Which of your courses would help me with this scenario? So again, unfortunately, I really don't recommend using autosomal DNA to find 4 times great-grandparents. I really think autosomal is best when you're looking at 3 times greats or closer. So while you could use the methodology that I teach in the book to try to help you find them, I don't think it's going to be particularly successful. So I would turn to Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA. So finding direct male descendant, direct female descendant, and seeing if you can use Y or autosome or Y or mitochondrial to help you. And if you have those, then you can combine efforts with the autosomal DNA and the Y-DNA to help you feel a little more confident about kind of that shaky connection the autosomal DNA is going to create. So I would definitely recommend Y-DNA as a good next step for you. I know it's probably not the answer that you wanted. I wish there was some way we could go a little farther back, but right now it's just harder. It's just tricky. All right. Okay. So we'll be back tomorrow. Hold on. Let me just get Paula's question real quick. 2 men, same surname, no autosomal DNA matches, big Y, 5 matches, no close genetic distance, no common surnames, not related. So what I want you to do, Paula, is in the big Y test, there's a section in the discovery tool on the side that's called the time tree. So in that time tree, it's going to list your most recent common ancestor with your big Y matches, and it's going to give you kind of a date of when you're connected. And so if you look at that and you feel like that date is within a genealogical time frame, it might be worth pursuing a record connection even if you don't share a surname. But if that MRCA, that most recent common ancestor that you see, is outside of a genealogical time frame back in the 1600s or 1500s, I would say don't worry about it and, leave it alone. You're not related. Okay? All right. Thanks everybody for joining me today. If you have more questions, we'll be back tomorrow again, live from RootsTech. And I want to hear your wins. I want to hear what you're learning, and we'll be here to answer questions. You can also submit your questions in advance through our social media channels, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.